Now to the case of a graduate student at Georgetown University detained by immigration authorities Monday night. Badr Khan Suri is a postdoctoral fellow at the school working at a Center for Muslim Christian Understanding. He traveled to the United States from India on a student visa. Tricia McLaughlin, the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security, said on X that he had been, quote, actively spreading Hamas propaganda and promoting anti-Semitism on social media. She also said he has close connections to a known or suspected terrorist, a senior advisor to Hamas. Just moments ago, a federal judge ruling the Trump administration cannot deport him unless a court rules otherwise. He is being held in a detention facility in Louisiana ahead of a deportation hearing that is currently scheduled for May. His lawyer, Hassan Ahmed, joins us now. Hassan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us this evening. Let me just start by asking you about your client. When was the last time you were able to speak with him, and how is he doing?
Thanks for having me. I was able to speak with Dr. Khan Suri last night around 7 o'clock. He was at the Alexandria staging facility. It's just a really difficult situation for him. It's the month of Ramadan. He's fasting, but is not being given proper Ramadan accommodation, so he's fasting without the pre-dawn meal. I'll tell you this about him, just to give you an idea what kind of person he is. The first person he asked about was his wife, and then asked about his children. And the second question he had for me was about his students. And only then did he ask about himself and his own case.
Could you tell us a little bit about his family? How old are his kids? And tell us what life has been like for him prior to this.
You know, it seems that it was an idyllic, they're academics, working at a Center for Muslim Christian Understanding. And he's a renowned scholar in the area of conflict resolution. And he's got 3 young children. And it just seemed this is the person under the charges on his immigration court hearing are that he is bad for the United States foreign policy. And I would just submit that if our government thinks that a scholar like this is bad for foreign policy, maybe the problem's with the government, not with the scholar.
Let's talk a little more about what the Department of Homeland Security is accusing your client of. They are accusing him of spreading Hamas propaganda as well as anti-Semitism and having connections to a senior advisor to Hamas. How do you respond to those claims?
I would say that this is still the United States of America, and we don't punish people. We don't whisk them away and send them 1,000 miles away from their family based on what they may have said, what they may have posted on social media, or who they are related to.
Can I ask you, because I did see his father-in-law, Ahmed Youssef, is a former advisor to Ismail Haniyeh, who was the Hamas leader that Israel assassinated last year in Iran. And he confirmed to the New York Times that he previously did have a role with Hamas, but saying that he'd left that position more than a decade ago and that he does not currently hold a senior position with the militant group at all. Do you know if your client even had any contact with his father-in-law? As I understand it, his father-in-law is not in the United States. He lives inside of Gaza.
That's my understanding as well. I'm only aware of one instance when my client had contact with his father-in-law, and that was to ask for his daughter's hand in marriage.
The federal law says that the Secretary of State can revoke visas and deport immigrants if they have reasonable ground to believe that an immigrant would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States. I believe this is the same sort of clause or provision in the Immigration and Nationality Act that was used to justify revoking the visa of the Columbia grad student Mahmoud Khalil, which has caused a lot of controversy here in New York and beyond. Is that your understanding, that that's what they're citing here? And in terms of just looking at that law from an outsider, a non-legal mind, it seems like a very broad provision within the law. And it seems like the U.S. has a lot of power here to revoke visas as they sort of see fit. How hard is it, in your experience, to get a revoked visa reversed? And legally, how do you plan to fight this?
So it is the exact same charge that was in the case of Mahmoud Khalil, Section 237A4CI of the Immigration Nationality Act. And looking at it and just reading it, it is a very broad provision of law, and seemingly allows a single official to essentially order a person's deportation and not have to give a reason for it. It's for that reason that it's important that it be subjected to some sort of check, judicial check. My initial thoughts when I heard about the case of Mahmoud Khalil and looking at the current status of the BIA case law on it is that Marco Rubio, as the Secretary of State, could chat GPT some reason for why he thinks somebody is a bad idea for foreign policy or affects foreign policy negatively, and no court would have the ability to take a look at that and say, well, wait a second, show your math on that. We plan to hold the government's feet to the fire, and we're going to make them show their math.
And on some of these specific accusations, let me just ask you directly, has your client ever made pro-Hamas or anti-Semitic statements?
We deny that.
If your client could speak directly to the Trump administration tonight, what do you think he would want to say?
Why did you take me away from my family? I think that's the first thing that he would say. And the second thing he would say is, I came here to teach young minds about conflict resolution. And for some reason, I find myself caged up like a common criminal.
Hassan Ahmed, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us tonight. I'm sure we will be in touch and hopefully can speak to you again.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.